It's Friday, the 2nd of August, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes, let's go. Story number 1's a big one. The local share market hit a new record high yesterday as the US central bank confirmed a rate cut is on the way and odds for a reduction in local rates by the end of the year shortened.
There's plenty of excitement in the market at the moment. Yesterday, the S&P ASX 200 pushed through 8,100 points for the first time, hit as much as 8,145 points before finishing at 8,115. It follows the inflation data on Wednesday that showed underlying inflation. That's the one that the Reserve Bank likes. Shows that is slowing. That triggered a rethink of what's next for interest rates locally. Those that thought there was another hike in the offing have backtracked. Some other high-profile economists, notably from Commonwealth Bank and Westpac, reckon the first cut might actually occur this year. In fact, bond markets are now priced in a cut by February next year. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve said it could start lowering interest rates as soon as September. Very exciting there. We are on the way to lower rates, Michael.
Yeah, so a rate cut in the US and here should help corporate earnings, hence the rally. Beyond markets, it no doubt has some political implications as well.
Yes, definitely. I guarantee that Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is hoping for a rate cut ahead of announcing any federal poll, which must be held by May next year. The cost of living crisis is hurting everyday Australians. It's also hurting voters' view of the government. So a rate cut would be welcomed by Labor. Same deal in the US. No doubt Kamala Harris would love a rate cut in the world's biggest economy before November. The thing is, a rate cut doesn't necessarily mean that the market will keep rising. What we've seen previously when there's been a bunch of rate cuts is that share markets tend to fall. That's often because economies are slowing sharply. That's bad for earnings. Also at the moment, plenty of geopolitical risk around the place, especially in the Middle East. Growing skepticism about short-term returns from artificial intelligence and already highly valued markets.
All right, moving on to story number 2 now, Sean. Only 5 out of 19 closing the gap targets are on track, according to the Productivity Commission, prompting Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to say generational inequality for Indigenous Australians won't be solved overnight.
Mr Albanese said the government was still committed to closing the gap targets, but change wouldn't be immediate. Advocates say Indigenous Australians are somewhere between disappointed and frustrated at the lack of what's going on. Now, the Productivity Commission's annual data compilation report released yesterday shows efforts to reduce rates of incarceration, out-of-home care and suicide are not on track to hit targets. The most recent data shows suicide is the leading cause of death for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people aged between 15 and 39 years. As well, the Commission noted the life expectancy of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders about 10 years less for men and the same amount for women. However, targets for healthy birth weights, preschool enrolments and Indigenous employment are heading towards fulfilment by 2031.
Sean, story number 3, Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers has hinted that the government is at least considering injecting equity into the failed Rex airline.
Essentially, Dr. Chalmers wouldn't rule out intervening in Rex Regional Express after it went into administration on Tuesday night. When asked on ABC's Radio National whether the government would take an equity stake in the embattled regional airline, Dr. Chalmers said the government was having serious conversations about all of our options. Later in the day, the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, suggested a reason for Rex's failure was due to its attempt to break into the competitive Sydney-Melbourne route. It also emerged that Rex had asked EY, the financial services firm, to conduct a review of its strategy a couple of months ago.
Story number 4, weight loss drug supplies in Australia are set to improve dramatically as the company behind Ozempic prepares to provide its version of the medication that's specifically designed for patients seeking to shed kilograms.
Drug maker Novo Nordisk's decision to finally launch its powerful Wegovy medication in Australia resolves the prospect of supply shortages in October when chemist-made versions of Ozempic were scheduled to be banned. Until now, Australians have only been able to buy limited supplies of Ozempic, which is officially licensed as a diabetes treatment, not a weight loss treatment. The Fin Review is saying that Novo Nordisk is planning to begin offering its weight loss drug Wegovy in Australia this month. Patients will need a prescription from their doctor and the drug won't be on the subsidised pharmaceutical benefits scheme. Not sure how much it's going to cost. Wegovy comes in higher doses than Ozempic. That makes it more effective for weight loss. It's been approved by the Therapeutic Goods Administration since 2022, but never available.
Last one, Sean, story number 5, very serious one to finish on. The alleged mastermind of the September 11, 2001 attacks on the US will be spared the death penalty as part of a plea agreement that aims to end years of legal wrangling over his treatment by the CIA and interrogation under torture in Guantanamo Bay.
59-year-old Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who is accused of plotting with the late al-Qaeda founder Osama bin Laden to hijack planes and fly them into the World Trade Center and Pentagon, will now receive a minimum sentence of 2,976 years in a military tribunal, according to the Financial Times. The Pentagon, which announced the plea deal, said it had also reached agreements with 2 other defendants who were first charged alongside Mohammed 16 years ago. Exact terms aren't known, but the trio are expected to plead guilty and avoid a full trial. Mohammed was captured in 2003 in Pakistan, held in CIA prisons before being sent to Guantanamo Bay. The agency has since been found to have subjected him to waterboarding, a form of torture, at least 183 times.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Friday, the 2nd of August, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts or at fearandgreed.com.au, which is also where you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.